would like to welcome you to State University of Zanzibar. I'm honored to be here today to officiate the opening ceremony of this very important training in research methodology in social science.
This is the opening of the summer school in Zanzibar, and the participants are academicians drawn from various public universities in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania mainland, and the host Zanzibar.
It's very important that we make our decisions based on the facts, that we actually spend some time to collect and understand and analyze.
That it can build in the region comprehensive understanding between researchers and build a network between Kenyans, Uganda, Tanzanians, and maybe others. Well, there are lots of links between the work you're doing and the developments ongoing in Tanzania and above Tanzania, of course, in the East African region.
The East African researchers are here to be taken through a training program on social science methodology, a practical and thematic training organized by a team of academicians from Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, France, and Switzerland, researchers who mainly focus on studies on the African continent.
First, we believe in putting people together, people from different backgrounds for different fields with different research interests who at one point in time will meet and then communicate each other the liking and the interest they have in what they are doing.
I've come to take part in this methodological training school in social sciences as a member of a team that has come together a few years ago, like about 6 or 7 years ago.
During this training that was conducted in April 2013, SUZA, the State University of Zanzibar, was the venue where the theme, conducting research on heritage, did not need any further explanation.
We are trying to share good practice and ideas. Today is about heritage, but it's not a training about heritage. It's just a pretext. We need a research question. So the training is really about methodology.
And after these 10 days of training, they will have an idea of what the research issues are and how they could address them. And this means that they would be able to adapt that way of reasoning to other settings as well.
Zanzibar is an archipelago where Swahili cultural heritage is found. The Stone Town, among other locations on the island, has been inscribed on the UNESCO list of World Heritage Sites.
How do you translate heritage in Kikuyu? What about Luo? If you want to work on heritage, you will have to question also why this word just appears to be important right now.
The Stone Town has a very rich history, but before you get to understand its present condition and any efforts that have been put in place to try and conserve it, we need to understand what was there before. And we need to understand the kind of cultures, the heterogeneous nature of the cultures within this Stone Town.
In order to delve in-depth into the heritage issues on the island, the participants had the opportunity to listen to presentations from the Director of Urban Planning, Dr. Mohammed Juma, and Professor Abdul Sharif, a Zanzibari historian and an archival expert of international stature.
One is to recognize that Zanzibar is part of the Swahili coast. It is part of the Swahili civilization. And therefore we should not just present Zanzibar as if it is a unique island somewhere in the Indian Ocean isolated from anybody else.
We have Town County Planning Act. This is from 1955. And we have this Monument Act. So this was the one which was done 1927, but it was revised 2005. So this is the instrument that we are using to kind of protect heritage.
In their respective presentations, the two not only discussed the matter in question, but also touched on facts. From policies on conservation to political issues, the experts shared with the participants the history and challenges on heritage on the island of Zanzibar.
And the people had this idea that everybody everywhere must live separately by class. That was not true of Zanzibar. People came from many different directions. Groups of people, many communities, many religions lived here, but generally lived in a considerable harmony. There was never a religious conflict.
I ask you what is heritage, you talk about something that you know this is heritage. But some of them, they may go deeper. Someone has to understand that even the music, if that music is a part of the identity of the people, if that music, it has a role of institutionalizing that human society, that in our society we think the way of praying is part of us, then it becomes heritage.
The summer school is not new because this is the third training program conducted under this initiative that is intended to provide methods and techniques of research in social sciences and humanities with a strong focus on multidisciplinary perspectives and qualitative approaches.
This is the goal of social sciences. Try to describe on how do people live and how they represent their own life and why, if we can access that, they behave in such and such a way.
On the selection of the participants, the organizers of this summer school took into account as much as possible diversity in gender, discipline and university of origin.
I would like to know more about socioeconomic, conducting socioeconomic surveys and how to work with the data.
Is whether environmental care approaches can help in the sustainability of peace.
They propose to work on disaster risk management, disaster risk reduction and management.
Apart from sharing ideas with others concerning methodology, but I think I will learn a lot on how to undertake researches, especially on data analysis, presentation, and writing.
In order to find out more, we closely monitored 4 individuals who were among PhD students, lecturers and researchers from the University of Dar es Salaam, the State University of Zanzibar, Makerere University, Kenyatta University and the University of Nairobi.
Market-oriented reforms within the traditional pastoralist economy.
Moses Emmanuel is an assistant lecturer in sociology and anthropology at Dar es Salaam University, while Fred Maniragaba is also an assistant lecturer but in population studies at Makerere University. From Kenya, we had Christine Adongo, a PhD student from Kenyatta University. And from the State University of Zanzibar, we also followed closely the development of another assistant lecturer, Saad Wahab.
My specialization is on social history. Surya is referred to the female slave who had the role of being like a wife of the owners. So I really like to write a lot of research on that area.
It is actually my luck, my happiness to get to know how to triangulate, actually to incorporate research designs together. I mean, quantitative and qualitative.
I am very competent on the methodologies of hard sciences, but I realized that for me to be able to conduct a very good thesis and to have a very good thesis, I need a lot of information and a lot of training and capacity building in social sciences. So that is why I feel that this study, this summer school will be very beneficial to me to enrich my knowledge on the social sciences methodologies.
My studies are primarily qualitative analysis of the transformation in terms of the value systems, in terms of the institutions which are changing, in terms of any transformation that is happening in the pastoralist village. So I expect to meet a lot of seasoned experts in qualitative data collection, in qualitative analysis, and more importantly also in writing.
The issues the trainees were to probe were on heritage in the Stone Town area from the point of view of the locals, tourists and stakeholders, including activists and members of the civil society.
I'm trying to share perhaps an experience and my way of working with colleagues, with students, and to communicate the importance of fieldwork and building your own documentary knowledge about what is happening today in East Africa.
For 10 days, the team took the participants through a series of lectures, workshops, discussions, and practical lessons.
We are here as a social scientist. Then our object are not the trees, but the interaction within the social world. And our object can be also the observation, the biologist's observation of the tree. It can be the representation of religion or of what is good or bad.
And here when I say interacting with people, this is really what social sciences is about. It's a key word, interaction with people, because it means that we speak to the people, we do things with them, and we ideally, at least in anthropology, we are part of people's daily life.
We are starting to think on where to start our fieldwork, because we have a long street of Sokomuhogo, and we want to figure out whether we can start from the starting point of the street or the ending point of the street.
Basically, the issue here is the social representation of heritage. So we are going to identify what people, stakeholders, that is the local people, tourist agencies and other bodies consider to be heritage, whether it is documented, whether it is an official status heritage or not official.
Maybe to clarify this one, you have talked about a lot of things here, you know, which form the part of this heritage buildings, slave market, old fort, fields. So according to what you have talked about, in your own understanding, what is more important than the other?
The market, the slave market. The slave market.
With this training, then it's give you any skills or rather knowledge, how I can explain it, but that you have to note everything, so whatever you found in the street as part of your study.
We just want to observe. It's an exercise of observing and taking notes. Well, observing, as I thought before, not only means looking at what is there, but also listening. What are people discussing? What are they talking about? What categories of people? What are they doing? Things like this. And what do you see?
Because you want to get something from the street, and you're observing different things.
The changes in one's life at one point in time can probably be explained by everything that is there at that moment, but also by other events, other characteristics of the people maybe you're studying, other aspects of life that took place beforehand. One of the three aspects that is really developed in the training and of which I'm in charge of is collecting life histories. We use as an interview guide age-band forms, which means we collect, it's a way of collecting systematically the events that occurred in a person's life. So this is inspired from quantitative methods, but it's directly applied to in-depth interviews.
These included observation, archival research, and critical analysis of sources, including the internet, in-depth and non-directive interviews, and spatial analysis, with special reference to mapping and geographic information systems.
Many researchers are able to produce their own maps. Most of the time they are thematic maps, which may be based on data which has been gotten from the field, such that you are representing your work, right, at a spatial front.
Switch it on, and then let's search the satellite. And after that, if it is already tracking the satellite, then you just search the word or the items called mark. Then you press the button OK.
We have started to understand how you take data from the field and you put it on the map.
The idea is just to do it in practice and then to experience. You know, you learn something better by experiencing. That is what I realized. It's not the same as going to the field, getting samples without talking to anyone and taking them to the field, to the lab, and then you do your things in the lab. That is what I'm used to.
For some of us, this is a new technique, it's a new skill. We have started to understand how you take data from the field and you put it on the map.
We are trying to go over the first set of interviews, some form of debriefing, to try and see whether the students actually filled the forms in the correct way, or if there's any information that was left out, so that they actually can be able to revisit with the people they are interviewing, because they are just close by.
During the training, the participants were also taken through photography lessons and introduced to devices such as audio recorders and GIS sets, devices that were extensively used during the entire training period.
Your question is asked on a specific point, but you don't say to the respondent that, just stop, this is not the question I asked. You are always doing mistakes when conducting an interview. And the way to control that and to help you improve your crafts in interviewing is to record the interviews and to transcribe it.
This was about transcribing an interview. Really, this has been my first experience. So I want to believe that I have actually understood how to conduct an interview and thereafter transcribe it.
So far, the experience part is coming out very strongly, and I think it's very beneficial to us.
How is the exercise?
It's somewhat difficult because we didn't prepare for the participants, so some of them are reluctant to provide some information. Some of them say that they don't have time, so they give us an appointment of tomorrow. And for what I know, tomorrow we shall have another exercise, so it's difficult to meet with them.
I think the objective was not to have enough time to do it and to do it perfectly, but to get the feel so that you have an idea of what happened and how you could possibly handle any upcoming issues.
Sometimes training in university in East Africa may not go that deep in training students in carrying and conducting fieldwork.
Hypothesis is just like a statement whose truth or falsity is supposed to be what? Found. Whether you do it the other way or the other way, it is still hypothesis. There are people who need to combine two, they will still do it.
You just have to be convinced that what you're doing follows a number of recognized critical guidelines.
Let us avoid to say that it's either qualitative approach, which is good or bad. It is how you apply it. Right? If you don't apply it well, it won't serve a purpose.
I'm not convinced. I'm sorry, I'm going to disagree with him, because I know in quantitative research, actually we use hypotheses and we are able to test using those wonderful statistical models, and we are able to make informed decisions according to the results you have acquired or obtained. Now, if you say either in quantitative or qualitative, which measures do you use in qualitative now to possibly come up with results pertaining to whatever they say the hypothesis?
You are saying that quantitative
analysis is scientific, while qualitative, we don't know, it's subjective, isn't it? Well, this is why we are here. I hope we will convince you.
Among the locations that the participants visited were the Forodhani and Tony Palace ruins.
She learned German language. When she was done, she was moved out from Hamburg to Berlin.
Every Friday evening, for the last 13 years, concerts have been held in these ruins that were the birthplace of Prince Salme during the reign of Said Said. Forodhani is a place that was once used for trade purposes during the day, but contrary to its name, it is now a spot where mostly tourists sample the local cuisine just after sunset, while some locals socialize during daytime. While appearing to be on just another sightseeing trip, participants' visit to the two locations was indeed part of training, and what followed later, just like in the other sessions, was a debriefing session in relation to the subject matter, heritage.
In the mainland, normally the Tarabu is dominated by women, but yesterday I saw there were only men and only a single lady who came to sing, and then she was just standing.
I felt the feeling that you feel when you don't think, you're calm and peaceful.
If we have such trainings, then we are building the capacity of the future supervisors, future researchers in the East African region.
It is expected that the knowledge gathered during the third training will not only enrich ongoing research activities conducted by these scholars, but will also influence processes that will assist in getting in-depth answers to questions on heritage on the island of Zanzibar.
I am satisfied that learning is a continuous process. It does not stop from here.
This was also an eye-opener in the sense that you now know that you still have a lot to work on to improve your skills, your ability to conduct research, to design studies, and to make sure that the materials you eventually come with from the field are substantial enough to deserve recognition in a way.
Very amazing that I'm staying in Zanzibar and I regard myself as a historian, but I didn't able to discover them. I was here. So with this training, we have so many things to document and so many things to discover and write as well. With Agent, it was really something new to me. Yes, so I think I've learned a lot of things, and also the mapping skills.
Yes, I'm not convinced. Possibly I need to, first of all, correct this impression. Obviously, what I have been doing before is going to be enriched now, meaning that I'm going to adopt some of these techniques, research techniques I have acquired from this training to undertake my duties ahead.
Being able to spend 10 days to do specifically or to be coached specifically on these approaches, it's a very different perspective. It makes you more confident.
2013 East African Summer School Methodological Training in Social Sciences. That is in-depth interviews, biographies, and mapping. Certificate of participation awarded to Fred Maniragaba.